Hi guys, and welcome to my ranking of the Children of the Corn movies. Over the past few months, I have watched all 11 of these, and yes, I am at least partially insane, but the experience wasn't as bad as I thought it might be. I'd been led to believe that only the original was decent and the rest of them were just utter trash. Not at all. I'd say half of this series is good and watchable, the other half certainly isn't. I've done separate review videos for all 11 films. You'll find those in my Stephen King adaptations playlist, but if you just want the shorthand version as to which films are worth checking out and which ones aren't, then this is the video for you, because I'm hoping to rattle through all of these in no more than about 15 minutes, hopefully, but we'll see how we get on. I'm going to take these films from worst to best, as is the tradition for these types of videos, and I guess nothing else need be said. So let's dive in. We'll start with the absolute bottom of the barrel film in this franchise. Let's find out what it is. Yep, at number 11, we have Children of the Corn Runaway. So this was the 10th of the 11 films. The only reason that it got made was so that Miramax could keep hold of the rights. They were in a similar position with Hellraiser Judgment. And actually, both films were made off of the same production budget in Oklahoma. I can't speak for Hellraiser Judgment because I've never seen it, but I've heard it's absolutely dreadful. I can certainly vouch for the fact that this film is dreadful. It's about this young pregnant woman and her son. They are fleeing the Children of the Corn, and they end up in this really racist, bigoted little town where everybody's just horrible. The main protagonist has absolutely no personality whatsoever, and the entire film is just cheap and joyless. I can't think of a single thing about this that I liked. I gave it 0.5 out of 5. Honestly, if I was in prison, I would rather stare at the wall and think about really good horror films that I've seen rather than watch this particular horror film on an actual television set. It's that bad. At number 10, we have Children of the Corn 6, Isaac's Return. For me, this is where the franchise really started to dip in quality, and it never fully recovered afterwards. I thought this one, at least, though, would be all right, because once I found out that Isaac was in it, I thought to myself, okay, so this will feed back into the original. It should be quite interesting watching this guy come back. But how wrong was I? The penny dropped for me halfway through this film that no, we didn't need another Isaac story. This is not some classic horror villain we have to catch up with every now and again. This guy was all right in the original Children of the Corn, but he should have been left there because, honestly, they have nowhere to take this character. Supposedly, he was in a coma during all the sequels in between, and now he's awake again. But he's the exact same character he was first time around. There's no arc for him. There's no redemption. He's just the same. And watching him in action is surprisingly dull, actually. This whole film is a muddle. It's a whole lot of nothing. We've got this female protagonist who is in town trying to reconnect with her mother. We spend some time with her as she's moping around town, not doing a lot of anything. And then we cut to Isaac being mean to somebody, and then back to the girl. Eventually, all worlds collide in a cornfield, but I am mentally checked out by this point. Looking back, I think the series should have ended after this one because, for me, it was clear around about this time that they had exhausted all possibilities for this series, that they should have just left it alone once this film had creatively failed. But, as it happened, there were still 5 more to come. At number 9, we have Children of the Corn Genesis. So this was the 9th of the 11 films to get made, and it's come in 9th place today. This one is about a young couple who break down on the highways of Nebraska somewhere, and they end up having to stay the night at Billy Drago's farmhouse. But secretly, he is a villain who is overseeing the latest batch of murderous children. Now, to be fair, this film is all right for maybe 25, 30 minutes. There's a decent bit of atmosphere generating, at least in the portion of the story where we don't quite know what's the what. And the leading lady, I can't remember her name, I think she plays a character called Ali, if my memory is correct. She's pretty watchable, but the thing is, as soon as this film gets into its second half, it all goes to hell. It's all bad from basically the moment that you find out what is going on with this farmhouse. So nothing to see here. It's another bad one, albeit it hasn't quite come at the bottom of the pile. At number 8, we have the Children of the Corn remake from 2020. So this was the most recent one to come out, and given that we are talking more than 5 years ago at this point, I have quite a large amount of hope in my heart that this particular Children of the Corn may have hammered in the final nail of this franchise's coffin, but we will see what the future holds. This one has been reasonably well directed. It's got a decent modern looking sheen to it, and it's good to see the return of actual cornfields, because in the two films before this one, there was not a lot of corn at all. It's a very cruel film, though. There are lots of people who die in this who didn't really have a chance because maybe they were already tied up or in a jail cell. I think the main girl has been badly cast here. I didn't like her, really. And even though there are fleeting moments of quality throughout the story, there's not enough of them. I was kind of bored making my way through this. At this point of my review series, I was just kind of wanting to get it done and over with, as you might be able to appreciate. I gave this 2 out of 5, and we are definitely not yet into the ones that I might actually recommend you watch. At number 7, we have Children of the Corn Revelation, or Revelations. I'm not sure which is correct, and I don't honestly care. So this was the 7th of the 11 films that got made, and it's come in 7th place, coincidentally. This one is about a young woman who goes back to Nebraska to see her gran, who is living in this huge apartment block, which just happens to be right next to a cornfield. And I mean literally right next to a cornfield. The corn is pressed up against the side of the building, which would seem really unlikely to me. There's a little bit of atmosphere in this film, mainly because a lot of it takes place at night. Michael Ironside is floating around as this dodgy-looking priest, and there are a couple of good kills from memory. A guy gets thrown off a building, and there's one kill involving some night vision goggles, which was kind of cool. But on the whole, the film's still not good. Although this was the one that came after Part 6, Isaac's Return. So I remember watching this and thinking that it was at least an upgrade on the previous one, and yet it still doesn't achieve any kind of great glory or anything. At number 6, we have the Children of the Corn remake from 2009, not to be confused with the 2020 remake of the same name. So numerically, this was the 8th of the 11 films to be released, and it has come 6th. I would say that this one is the best film from the second half of the franchise. Not that that's saying an awful lot. What I liked about this one is that the main character is a guy, and he just doesn't take any crap from anybody. He's quite happy to kill the kids, beat up the kids. Like, too often in this series, the adults will just run away from the kids, because I guess they're thinking, well, you can't kill kids, so let's just run away. But not the character in this movie. He's happy to get stuck in. He reads the room. He understands the situation, probably because he's an ex-Marine. And there are a couple of really good chases in this film as well. And also, there's this batty, Midsummer-esque sex scene in a pavilion towards the end, which is totally out of the blue and weird. Is this the first good film in this ranking today? I wouldn't quite go that far. I think it would be more true to say that there were parts of this film that I really enjoyed. I think I gave it 2.5 out of 5, maybe 3 from memory. I'm not sure, but certainly we're heading in the right direction now. Things are on the up, and we're starting to get into the good side of the franchise. At number 5, we have Children of the Corn 3, Urban Harvest. So this one takes the action to Chicago, into an urban environment, and for at least half of this, I hated that creative decision because I was kind of bored by this movie. It was going nowhere. But things pick up in the final act. There are a couple of really great sequences. Firstly, when the characters go to Nebraska and they go into this cornfield hoping to do something, I can't remember what, but this scarecrow comes to life and starts chasing everybody, and it's great. It's really wild. There's an amazing kill in this scene as well. And then we go back to Chicago, and there's this finale where like this creature comes out of the ground. It's like something out of John Carpenter's The Thing. It's got tentacles flying all over the place, getting people, and it's just the sort of mad, crazy shit that this film needed to finish off with, because honestly, the first 45, 50 minutes of this film were painful. So it's quite the recovery that this one has towards the end. If you do watch this one, you've got to stick with it, because you will eventually get some good material. And number 4, we have the original Children of the Corn, and I guess some people will be surprised that this one hasn't made the top 3, but it's still a really good film. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 from memory. It's very faithful to the original short story by Stephen King. So we've got this woman played by Linda Hamilton. She and her husband are bickering as they're driving towards Gatlin, and they end up running afoul of murderous children. It's very well directed. It looks gorgeous. The villains have been very well cast. And yet, it's a movie that does feel like it's missing a secret ingredient somehow. It's never quite as enthralling as I feel like it should be, because I personally love the original short story. But if you're a horror fan who has a big interest in at least watching all the really important films from decades past, then I would at least say tick this original Children of the Corn off your bucket list, just for the fact that it's the first film in an 11 film franchise. Even if you've got no interest in the sequels, then at least watch this first one. It is a good movie, but it's not like one of those classic first ones like Halloween or anything like that. And number 3, we have Children of the Corn 4. I can't remember what the subtitle is for this one. Is it The Gathering? Well, you would have seen it on the thumbnail that was just on the screen. This is the one with a young Naomi Watts in it, although predictably enough, she wouldn't come back for any more after this. She plays a nurse's assistant, and actually a lot of this film does take place in a small town clinic, but it's very much a no-frills Children of the Corn film, albeit in a good way. There's lots of kills, there are likeable characters. I think this one has a bit of a supernatural bent compared to the previous films that got made, but this has everything that I would want in a fourth go-around with Children of the Corn. I own a box set which has the original trilogy for this franchise in it, and I distinctly remember thinking after watching this one what a shame it was that my trilogy box set didn't also include the fourth one. So in the runners-up position at number 2, we have Children of the Corn 5, Fields of Terror. I was really in a good place with this franchise around about the time that I watched this. All the films had been good up to this point, more or less. And here I was again, enjoying yet another good one. And then after this, we would have Isaac's Return, and the whole landscape just changed for the rest of the series. But when I was watching this one, life was good. This is the most slasher type film in the series. So we've got 6 or 7 youngsters traveling to Nebraska in a couple of cars, and they all get stranded, and they start to get picked off by the murderous children one by one. This could be a Friday the 13th film, but for the fact that it's set around a bunch of cornfields rather than in the woods, if you see what I mean. But there are some likeable characters. There are twists in this film. Honestly, if you're a horror fan, just get yourself a couple of beers, throw this on, and you'll probably have a good time. It's genuinely really good. But it's not quite my favourite in this series. Let's now find out what that is. Yep, at number 1, we have Children of the Corn 2, The Final Sacrifice, if I've got my subtitles correct. But anyway, this is the best for me that this series has to offer. It was released theatrically, I believe, and then from the third film onwards, that was when they all went straight to video, at least until the 2020 remake, which was briefly in cinemas. But number 2 is really genuinely very good. It's a gorgeous film to look at. It was filmed in North Carolina, or at least one of the Carolinas. Everywhere they found to film in this film just looks stunning. And there's a genuinely good love story between the two main teens in this film. They have genuine chemistry. I liked their arc that they have. And the father of the two teens, he's a really good character as well. He's a reporter who's turned up to try and figure out what the hell's going on. You get a really good kill in this film every sort of 10 or 15 minutes or so, and they are actually good kills as well. So really good film this. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and for my money, it is the best Children of the Corn. Right, we'll leave it there for today. Thank you for joining me for my ranking of this series, and I can now definitively say that I am done with these films. I've done all my individual reviews, I've done my ranking. So you watch now. I will find out soon that they are planning to do a 12th movie of some description. If that happens, look, I will do a review video for it, but I'm certainly not going to do any more rankings, not unless they released like a whole bunch of other Children of the Corns, and it will take a long time for them to do that. But I'm really happy that I've come to the end of this journey. I can now move on and cover other Stephen King related stuff, starting with the Stand miniseries, so look out for that review soon. But for now, I will say cheerio, bye-bye.